And with me now on Skype to discuss the global decline in oil prices is Laurence Schreiber, co-president of Clarity Capital. Laurence, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We've been following the crisis in Russia, and it seems that the main reason for the situation is the dramatic fall in prices of oil. Can you describe for us what's happened and why?
Absolutely. And I would just say that in addition to oil prices, which certainly do have a major impact, Russia is also being impacted by the geopolitical environment, including the sanctions that have been placed on it by the West, the US and Europe, as a result of their actions in Crimea and more recently the Ukraine. But you're correct. The oil price is a dramatic impact in Russia because approximately 50% of their national revenues come from oil and gas. What we've seen, obviously, is a drop in global oil prices from about $110 a barrel over the summer to as low as $54 a barrel for U.S. crude, WTI, as recently as 2 days ago. And that's had a dramatic impact on Russia, with the ruble devaluing from 35 or 40 rubles to the dollar this summer to as weak as 80 rubles to the dollar just 2 days ago. We've now seen kind of a bit of a recovery, but the impact is truly dramatic.
And speaking globally, what have been the drivers of these dramatic shifts in prices? Can we detect a few main drivers for this trend?
Absolutely. Like every commodity, oil is affected by supply and demand. And we've seen both supply start to increase as new sources of oil around the world have come online, and demand has been somewhat weak as the global economy has been slow to recover. But in addition, oil has a real geopolitical impact, and that's been kind of a non-economic reason why prices have dropped so precipitously. What I mean is specifically Saudi Arabia has made a decision to push prices down. It's very clear in their actions through their leadership of OPEC that they've decided that they will take additional market share, or at least preserve their market share in the face of all of these newer sources of oil. So what they've done is, by increasing their own supply and actually continuing to exceed their own OPEC limits, they've pushed oil prices down at the expense of smaller producers such as Iran, Nigeria, Venezuela, and specifically impacting the newer sources of oil out of North America, such as oil sands out of Canada, and obviously a big impact on all of the U.S. fracking activities in shale oil.
And Laurence, in light of this dramatic volatility that you're describing in prices, is it at all possible to provide an outlook for oil price in 2015?
That's a very good question, obviously. We've seen a bounce already. I think once we started to approach $50 a barrel, I think that was kind of a natural floor, because that's close to the production cost of most of the producers. We've seen a bounce back just over the last 2 days from 54 to 57 or 58. Where it ultimately stabilizes is hard to predict, but I wouldn't be surprised to see oil recovering to $60 to $70 a barrel over the course of the next year or so, and probably stabilizing somewhere there.
Well, Laurence Schreiber, co-president of Clarity Capital, thank you very much for this insight. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.